Okay, let's do a little mix walkthrough. So I'll just go through the tracks first of all. We've got a riser, you know, just one of those noises that people who do a lot of production music tend to put in their tracks. Drums, got a bunch of different drum kits, and I'll explain that in a second. In bass, we've got just very keyboard, kind of dance, kind of sine wave bass. Now the riff is made up of a bunch of different things. There's a kind of direct input guitar, which is going through a bit crusher effect. And then there's a few keyboard parts, some added in at various points. Admira is the name of my classical guitar, which is just doing a little bit of backing. We've got keyboard pad, keyboard lead, keyboard strings, sampled trumpets. I don't think that source sequence thing is actually in there. It's kind of muted, but I obviously didn't delete it. And then we've got the vocal track. Let's go from the beginning. The riser, I think, is kind of, it's just basically, it's not quite a sample, but it's just a keyboard sound. Drums is where things start getting interesting. So I took the original drum track and I tweaked bits of it. And then what I did is just get a bunch of different drum kits. These are all sample drum kits. Some kind of sound like a real drum kit, some sound like drum machines, some just sound like noises. And I took these different drum kits and I cut this drum track between them. So you've got this kind of mishmashed sound. I was tempted to go in there and really get granular and kind of leap between them. But then as I was doing, I thought this is about as much variation as I can put between drum kits and actually still have you as a listener and be aware of it. Beyond that, I felt like it was doing a lot of work that just wouldn't make an impact. So that was a key part of just giving this track a, you know, its own kind of flavor. This keyboard bass, you're going to see here, one of the key things is that I gave it this, oh yeah, little room, this thing here. I put this reverb on where everything sounds like it's in a very kind of confined space. That was the point where I was like, oh, okay, this is the sound of the track. Everything is happening in like, you know, in like a broom cupboard. You know, everything is claustrophobic, and that was kind of part of the sound. So that's on pretty much everything. It's probably on the whole mix. Is it on the whole mix? It's not on the whole mix. It's on individual tracks. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense to put it on individual tracks because there will be some points where I want to take it out so that a part will sort of stand out more. So yeah, the Admira here, we've got a lot of kind of saturation, a lot of distortion on there with the decapitator, and probably got some on the Slate virtual mix things as well. A lot of compression, limiter. Everything is kind of squashed on this track. I think a lot of these were left over from the previous iteration of the track. I probably compressed them more, I probably distorted them more, and again, they'll all have this kind of little room reverb on there. Trumpets, it's kind of orchestral trumpets, which I also found myself adding on the next track, or Young Man Cut Down at His Prime. It's kind of epic in a box, I suppose. And I do get the sense it could become a bit of a crutch and I could use it too much, but I think it's worked for these two tracks. Vocal, this is the key thing here, SM57 vocal. Did I do SM57 or SM58? I thought it was an SM58, maybe, I don't know. That's the kind of mic you use in a live gig rather than the big sort of condenser mics. I wanted to experiment with using one of those mics that you use on stage rather than a studio mic to see whether or not I could get a closer, kind of more intimate sound. And I'm happy with the sound at the end of it, but there are so many effects on because ordinarily the mic's doing some of this work. The studio engineer is probably putting stuff through preamps. There's no preamps, there's just a mic in there. So you can see there's a lot of stuff there. So I have to kind of do this scrolling because it eats up all that. I'm actually going to push this up here. Let's see what we're looking at. Oh yeah, I put some, yeah, I've got send to more sort of saturation, more distortion on the vocal to give this really crunchy sound. Beyond that, I think that's pretty much the mix. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that particularly leaps out of me. There may be something that leaps out at you, in which case do put it in the comments. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the mix.